Hello everybody, I'm Quentin and we're back here again in one of our recording rooms in the computer lab where I want to tell you a little bit more about some of the equipment we're gathering here and what you may find if you come and use one of these rooms. Now, some of this equipment we also have available for you to borrow, certainly microphones and simple webcams, so details of how to go about that will be on the website, and we'll also be making more sort of tutorial videos, creating more instructions as time goes on for how to use some more of this kit. I just wanted to give you an overview today of how things are progressing. These rooms are basically ready to use now, and so you may well be coming in and be seeing some of this equipment yourself. So, what have we got here? Well, let's start with the first and most important thing. If you're in the middle of recording your lectures, you don't want to be disturbed. We have a solution for that. Let me come over here. On the outside of the meeting room doors, we have a very high-tech solution. Live streaming, do not enter. So you just hang that like that, and that should then be very obvious to people that you are busy. I'm going to leave that there for the time being. Do remember to turn it back once you've finished, though. Other things in this room you'll have seen already. We have these supports here on which you can hang backdrops. We have a couple of different colours. We even have some large rolls of green screen if you want to be really adventurous. We have lights here, and you can change the colour temperature of these lights to make them yellower or whiter if you want to. We now have whiteboards in the rooms. There's one over here, a big one, a smaller one over here. And so if you like drawing things, you can make use of the whiteboards, and we can provide cameras that will point at those. And let's go and look at some cameras. In fact, let me move my camera to show you some other cameras. So you'll have seen these before if you've looked at some of the earlier videos. We have straightforward webcams like this one. This is a Logitech C920, and you can hang it on top of your monitor, or you can put it on a gooseneck support or a tripod, something like this. Maybe point it at a whiteboard, point it at your keyboard, whatever you want to do. This is a document camera, and we'll show you more about this in due course, but basically it's a webcam that's facing downwards. But it has various nice characteristics like control of focus. You can put it at whatever height and angle you want. You can rotate it to match the rotation of the thing on your desk, and so forth. This is another Logitech webcam. This is a Brio, which is basically very similar to the 920 but higher resolution. This is a better camera. Does put a bit more load on your processor because it does less encoding on its own in its own hardware there. But that can be very useful if you want high resolution, or particularly if you want to crop it later. And I will just put this camera here. Let me put this down. Apologies for the quality of the video production here. So if you haven't seen these, if you've got a monitor, you can just hang this on the back of a monitor and adjust it to whatever angle suits you. So, or indeed, turn it around, point it at whiteboards and so on. Annoyingly, these Brios, generally the better camera, do not have a tripod mount on the bottom. So if you actually want to mount it on one of those goosenecks or on a tripod, you need to use the other one or come up with some inventive solution for that. In terms of microphones, for the recording rooms, we've settled on these Rode NT-USB mics here, which are very good. And of course, all of this stuff you'll need to plug in. And so if your laptop is anything like mine, you won't have enough USB ports for that. So we have a USB hub here, and that has a standard USB-A connector on it. But if your laptop only has USB-C, we've thought of that too, there's a little adapter for you. One other thing I'll just show you here is this device. Now this is a graphics tablet and a screen. So let me see if I can just arrange my camera here, and I'll show you how this works. Okay, so here we are again with the XP Pen Artist here, and because this is both a screen and a graphics tablet, it has an HDMI port for the video output. It has a USB port for the graphics tablet input, and it has another USB port to provide it with power, which you can either plug into your spare port on your laptop, if you have any after all of these are done, or you can plug it into its own power adapter. So I'm going to do that. That gives it power. I'm going to plug in the HDMI connector, and I'm going to plug in the USB port. Now, it will probably work as a screen immediately, just over HDMI. So if that's all you want it for, you don't need anything else. However, if you want to use the pen, you will need to install driver software on your computer and reboot it and do various things. There are some readmes which come with the driver software, which are worth taking note of. So I'm using this on a Mac, and I went to www.xp-pen.com/downloads/ there's something in the user manual that tells you about where to go for this. It's not a very memorable URL. But while I think of user manuals, let me just show you that over here on the windowsill is our library, where we're starting to put together the manuals for the various bits of kit that you'll find in this room. So that's where to go if you actually want to read a bit of paper. Okay, so what do we have here? Once you have this set up, in fact, let me bring this a bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. Right, in this handy container, there is a pen. And I'm not sure how well the image will come out on this camera, but it is actually quite a nice screen. Many of you may be familiar, Wacom makes some very nice tablets with screens built in, but they are very expensive. And these are really quite reasonably priced, and in my 5 minutes of playing with it, I've been quite impressed. So there is, let me just fire up the control panel for this, called Pen Tablet Settings, and this, once you've installed it, gives you all sorts of controls about what the various different buttons do, what these various keys down the side do. You can calibrate it in various different ways and so forth. So if you're familiar with the Wacom software, you'll be familiar with this kind of thing. I have this set up with mirroring of the screen on my laptop. And that's for a simple reason. It will work perfectly well as a second screen, but I haven't yet worked out how to calibrate the pen for the right coordinates when it's being a second screen. But as you can see, it works nicely when we are mirroring here. So if I just fire up Photoshop here, I just happen to have a brush. But for those of you who like drawing alongside with your lectures, you can see the right button does something else. You can see that it's fairly easy to do this. And if you were doing screen capture, obviously you wouldn't capture this by pointing a camera at the screen. You'd capture this using a regular screen capture app. And this is a very nice way of being able to draw or interact with apps. I just happen to have Photoshop here, but you could use OneNote or some other drawing app of your choice. And I find this very responsive, despite the fact I have an elderly Mac. And it seems to work really well. So that's an option. You can use this as a graphics tablet if you want to draw. But you can also just use it as an extra screen if you want a second screen here. And oh, by the way, if it's a more convenient drawing position for you, you can lay it flat on the ground. And that makes it very easy to look over it if, say, you want to interact with a camera that's over there. Talking of cameras over there, well, actually the camera is over here. So we have, as you may have seen in earlier videos, we have these little Sony ZV-1 cameras. These are little sort of vlogging cameras, but really quite high quality and have lots of nice capabilities. If you have a Windows machine, there is now, as of a few days ago when I record this, there is software which will let you connect your Windows machine into the USB port on here, and will use this as a streaming webcam. I haven't tried it because I haven't got a Windows machine, but this is possibly the easiest way to connect it up if you have and if you want to try out that software. Otherwise, or if you want to use this, or indeed if you want to use your own digital camera, the other way to do it is to make use of HDMI. So this has a mini or micro HDMI port there, and we have these things, which are a long HDMI lead and this Elgato Camlink dongle here, which will capture HDMI and turn it into USB so that you can plug a camera like this into your laptop and record it as if it was just a webcam plugged in directly via USB, like one of these things, only very much higher quality. And there is one thing that on some systems, I've mentioned this before, you will need to be aware of, and that is often recording via HDMI introduces some latency. So if you're recording using a camera plugged directly into your computer and the video image is coming from a camera plugged in via HDMI, they may be slightly out of sync, and you may need to do some work to resynchronize those. Now, that may not be an issue on your system. It does seem to vary quite a lot. You can get around it by plugging an analog camera directly into here so that everything comes via the HDMI and then the audio and video will be in sync. Or indeed, if you're using something like OBS to record, it is possible to insert delays in any of the streams. So once you've worked out what the stream delay is that's appropriate to keep these things synchronized, you can do it that way. Anyway, that's just an issue you might encounter and might want to think about if you're not using any sophisticated video editing software to realign things afterwards. Now, one other thing to say about these cameras is that they have a small battery in them which will run for a while, but they don't come with a dedicated charger. You need a USB charger. And there is a micro USB port there, and we have some chargers in here. We're going to get some long cables for this. It will run off that power as long as you have a good charger, and it will also recharge the battery that way, which is good because one of the few annoying things about this camera is that you can't get the battery or the SD card out without removing the tripod stand because they're under there. There is an SD card in these if you need it as well, but you may be streaming directly to your computer and recording there. Here's a quick last-minute thought while looking at these USB hubs. For some reason, these hubs come with on-off switches, and it's possible that some thoughtful person will press those buttons. It's not very clear that they have been pressed. So if you find these USB hubs aren't working, do try pressing the buttons. Right, well, I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of some of the equipment that we have set up here, some that's available for you, and as I say, we'll have more detailed information about all of this in due course. Thanks for listening.